In-depth journalism in the Memphis community, the Daily Memphian is of Memphis, not just in Memphis, and seeks to tell the stories of this city. TheDailyMemphian.com. Truth in place.
Welcome back to another edition of the Daily Memphian's Memphis Grizzlies podcast. This is your host, Grizzlies writer Drew Hill, joined as always by columnist Chris Herrington. This is a fun pod. It's a pod I look forward to doing every single year. I should have gone back and checked how we did last year, but this is our preseason predictions pod. Chris and I are going to go through the entire NBA. We're going to give you order of finish in the West, as well as order of finish in the East. We'll pick some conference finals matchups. We'll pick a champion. We'll pick season awards. We will do all of that today. Chris has been writing about this quite a bit already, doing the big picture NBA stuff for the Daily Memphian, so go read all that. You've also been on other podcasts. You've been cheating on this podcast. You were on with Nate Duncan and some other folks talking Grizzlies this week, or the past couple weeks, I should say.
Yeah, I think I do the Nate Duncan every year, or I have for the last 10 years, basically. He does, for people who don't know, he does full hour preview pods for each of the 30 NBA teams with someone who covers the team. A lot of them are behind his subscription paywall, so I imagine not a lot of people who listen to us listen to that. But in case you are one of his subscribers, you can hear me talking for an hour on that pod. I think that's the only one I've done lately. I get on with Keith Parrish, our friend in Nashville, usually once or twice a month. I think I may be doing something with him next week, but it's been a few weeks since I've done anything with him.
Keith is the man. We support all local podcasts. So this will be a fun one for sure. I know we've had a decent history in terms of picking finals or champions. I think I had OKC last year. I'd have to go back and look. I've been high. I was high. I was a year too early on OKC. I thought they were going to win before last year. So this will be a fun one. We should note, Chris and I are recording this on Wednesday in the middle of the day. This will be out later this week, so we're going to miss talking about the Grizzlies preseason game against Charlotte in this one. Let's just assume it went a lot better than the first three. No? I don't know.
Sure, to the degree it matters. Sure.
Yeah, to the degree it matters. Whatever. Grizzlies will play basketball tonight, and there will be a chance to catch some more hoops. So that is exciting. Okay, Chris, you gave me dealer's choice. You said I can pick whichever side of the NBA I want to start on, and I think that the West is... Okay.
Yeah, let me do a blanket note for myself, because I have written, as you noted, I've written my NBA preview I do every year, which I wrote about a week ago. I think it maybe published last Friday. So I'm on the record, but the thing about it is, like, every day is a new day, and your opinions change every day. So what I wrote then was what I believed at the moment that I wrote it, and my opinions are mostly still the same, but there will be some shifts in what I predict here versus what I wrote. Because, like, things happen, man. When I filed that piece last week, LeBron James injury had not happened. Keegan Murray injury had not happened. TJ McConnell injury had not happened. Various things. So there's some slight shifts for me.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see how closely we are on the same page. And I did not, and I should have maybe, but I did not go through your full season preview in preparation of this. I did not want to be influenced by your thinking. So this is all thinking on my own here. I want to start with the East. I think the West is more compelling. Obviously, the West features the Grizzlies. So let's start with the East, which for its own reasons might be a little bit more challenging to break down, because it seems to be pretty top heavy with a lot of jumble in the middle here. Same thing with the West to some degree, but a different degree of jumble, I think, between the mid-tier East teams and the mid-tier West teams. Let's go in reverse order here. I'm just going to throw this out there. Is it fine? Are you good with just Brooklyn and Washington as the bottom two teams in the East? Let's just pencil them in right now.
Yep. Done and done.
We don't need to talk about Brooklyn and Washington anymore beyond that. Tanking teams. I think it gets a little bit more interesting after that as you sort of push toward the play-in picture. My number 13 team in the West, and maybe I should be regretting this. In fact, I already am.
In the East. Yep.
Or sorry, in the East, is the Chicago Bulls. And I just look at the Bulls roster and I think this isn't a very good roster. But again, the Bulls seem to be in the play-in picture every single year, floating around 500 every single year. But and the Bulls do have a slightly more favorable schedule than a team like Charlotte, which I think is also in the mix here. We'll see where you have them. But I just don't think the Bulls by the end of the season are going to be trying to be very competitive. So I went ahead and put the Bulls here. Maybe Buzelis will be awesome and Kobe White will be great, and they'll end up a play-in team again, and that's typically what they are. But my hopes are not as high for Chicago this season in terms of where they will fall. I don't think they're a play-in team.
Yeah, I don't either. I have them one spot higher than you in the East at 12. A few quick notes on Chicago. I think Josh Giddey's a really interesting fantasy basketball. In fact, I got him on my team. I sought him out after the trade deadline last year, after they'd got rid of Zach LaVine. He was putting up, some like 28-8 kind of numbers. I think that could happen again. I think Modest Buzelis is an interesting sort of breakout guy in terms of taking a big leap statistically. The thing about the Bulls is everyone has been saying, oh, they win 38, 39 games every year. Pencil them in, take the over. I do have an over, but they're over under number, if you care about that, is 32.5. I think they're more a 33, 34 win team, not a 38, 39 win team. I think they've gotten younger, which is a good thing, but it's going to hurt them in terms of their record. I think this is the year that either Nikola Vucevic, who always puts up numbers, either recedes or gets dealt. So I think Chicago is going to take a step back in order to hopefully take a step forward down the line. But I have them at 12 in the East, but I agree. I don't think they're a play-in team.
So who do you have at 13, Chris?
I've got Charlotte, and it seems like they're this thing where they've been in this rebuild for years, and they keep getting younger, and it keeps sort of not taking. And I don't believe in LaMelo Ball at all as a winning player. I do kind of believe in Brandon Miller. I think it should be probably more his team. But now, if you look around those two guys, they brought in like 5 rookies, including 3 in the first round, who are all going to play. They have one of the worst big man rotations in the NBA. I just think I think they're in a rebuild that's sort of stalled out, and they need to sort of like recoalesce and move forward in a different direction. I think they should probably move LaMelo Ball, but I just think they're too young and too weak up front to top 30 wins. So I have them 13th in the East.
Yeah, I have them at 12, so just one spot higher. Don't think they're a play-in team or anything. I'm with you on the Brandon Miller thing. I think he's interesting. They're also a team that could be selling, by the deadline. So potential for things to go the wrong way late there. I don't have a lot of hope for Charlotte, although I do think, Con Knipple, they have the potential to have some solid rookies this year. They're not going to be a team that wins, or at least has figured out how to win just yet. So I put them a little bit above Chicago just because I feel like they have roster pieces that I like more than Chicago's.
Right.
But I don't have a lot of faith that they will be a play-in team. Your number 12, was it the Bulls?
Yeah, the Bulls at 12.
The Bulls at 12. Okay, so we'll move on. This is where I think it starts to get a little interesting. Do you want to go on 11 here?
Yeah. Well, I think, and we'll see if we agree on the top 5 in some order, but to me, there's a top 5 and there in whatever order, then there's a break. And that range from 6 to 11 in the East, 6 gets you fully in the playoffs and 11 gets you not even in the play-in. And to me, those teams could go in absolutely any order, and it's totally defensible. And it's interesting because some of those feel safer than others. Some of them have higher upside than others, and those aren't necessarily the same teams. And so you could argue it just about any which way. The team I've got at 11 is a team that a lot of smart people are way higher on, and I just don't believe in it. But I could be very wrong because I do think they're probably a little bit safer than some of the other teams. I've got Toronto at 11. I just think there's a lot of guys who put up numbers while losing on that team, and I don't see a guy to hang your hat on there.
Yeah, I don't have Toronto at the 11 spot, but I'm with you on the general sentiment of Toronto. I'm not up on the Raptors like some people are. Toronto post All-Star break was like 13 and 14. So basically a 500 team. And I think they're getting a lot of credit for finish. And like there's a lot to be said about March NBA basketball as these teams are tanking and, they're playing different roster or rotations and whatever. But I think they're getting a lot of credit for the way that they finished the year, Toronto is. These were their wins post All-Star break. Orlando twice. Okay, that's pretty good. Phoenix, Utah, the Wizards, Utah again, Philly, who was tanking, the Wizards, Brooklyn twice, Charlotte, and Philly a second time, who was again tanking. Like they beat Orlando twice, but they didn't. They got a lot of credit, I think, for beating up on teams that were intentionally trying to lose late in the year. I'm generally not as up on Toronto as some of these other media personalities are. I'm with you on that, but I don't have Toronto in 11.
Well, here's a funny note about Toronto. I mean, they were good. They were decent, not good. They were more competitive late, in part, as you point out, for the schedule. Their defense was a lot better down the stretch. Here's the funny thing. They traded for Brandon Ingram, but then he didn't play, and they were good on defense. I don't think adding him back is gonna help them maintain that defense.
Yeah, so, no, I don't know. I generally viewed it as a little bit of a mirage there late for Toronto. My number 11 team, a team with a ton of variance. You probably know where I'm going here. Could burn me here and end up in the top 6 potentially. I think but I don't trust Philadelphia. I don't trust them. I don't know. I don't believe that they're going to stay healthy. They're already not healthy. McCain's dealing with an injury. Embiid, Paul George. Like I see a scenario in which it's crumbling and they're breaking this up again and they end up in the 11th spot. So, I could be very wrong about that, and I will be the first to admit it. But like I'm going to take that high variance team in this situation, and I'm going to move them down because I believe the odds are more in my favor that it's not going to work out than everything's going to come together. They're going to be healthy, and all of a sudden they're a competitive team again.
Yeah, I've got Philadelphia 10, and I think they have the highest upside of this middle group in terms of these 5 teams I alluded to. The funny thing about predicting these standings is, so I had Toronto 11, as we established. I actually don't think Toronto will be 11. I think they'll be a play-in team. But the problem with predicting it is I'd have to put them ahead to pick who they're going to be ahead of, and I don't know who that's going to be. I think one of those teams, your Philly, Boston, Miami, Milwaukee, Indiana, one of those teams is just going to bottom out. Something's going to go wrong. It's going to be even worse than they think injury-wise. They're going to pull the plug, and they're just going to tank. And I don't know who that's going to be. I think one of those teams will do that, and Toronto won't. So Toronto will probably be higher. But I have no idea which team that will be. I think Philadelphia has the most potential for things going wrong. So I have them at 10.
My number 10 team was Indiana, who's dealing with a McConnell injury already. No Miles Turner anymore. Don't really have traditional center depth. Added Jay Huff, but don't really have traditional center depth. I don't know how this idea of like playing with pace in the way that they did last year is going to work out with a guy like Halliburton probably out, almost certainly out for the entire season. I'm a little nervous that maybe Carlisle's just such a good coach that he'll figure it out, but I felt like that was a good place to put him. Like, let's just put him on the very back end of the play-in because I think there's certainly a chance that they figure it out and they end up being better than expected. But I don't have a ton of faith in Indiana, and I worry about the front court a little bit.
All right, well, I'll do my spill on the Pacers when they come up on my rankings. So
okay.
There's a little clue. So I had Philly 10, you had Indiana 10. Who do you have at 9?
I had Toronto at 9, who we've already discussed.
All right, I got Boston at 9, and I just don't know. Like, Boston's got a really good coach in Joe Mazzulla. They got 2 really good players in Jaylen Brown and Derek White. They have more good players, Peyton Pritchard too. Like, they can win if they want to win with that group. I just think that management has sort of signaled this is a gap year. And I think they're gonna move Anthony Simons. They might move Sam Hauser. They put together a front court. I talk about Charlotte being one of the worst center rotations in the NBA. I think Boston is the worst. And again, if they really want to scrap and claw, I think they can be better than this. but that's a team that I worry to the degree that I would predict them to do well. I would worry about management saying, no, 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 let's go the other way with this. But it could, if maybe Tatum comes back, I don't know. But I have Boston at 9. But
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like all indication is Jason Tatum wants to play at the end of the season. The question is Boston going to be competitive enough to where they want to play Jason Tatum at the end of the season? I don't know the answer to that. And the other thing about Boston is the way that they're going to play with Joe Mazzulla, they're going to be launching threes every single game. So, like, they're going to be one of those teams that can pop up and shoot 45% in one of those games and beat some of the teams that are better than them, frankly, based on roster this season. They are also susceptible, I think, to losing some head scratchers when you're playing that style. So I had Boston 8. I got him right around the same range as you. I think that they still have a good roster. They're still Boston. They're going to be well coached, and I think that they're going to upset some teams this year. But I don't have a lot of high hopes that this will be, some sort of oh wait, look, Boston's in the mix, and here comes Jason Tatum. Everybody's shaking in their boots by the end of the year. Like I just don't see that scenario on the horizon. Who was your number 8?
My number 8 is, I think, in some ways the safest team in this middle group. I think they have the most narrow band of outcomes, and that I think they're going to scrap their way to at least 36 wins, but I have a hard time seeing them hit 43, and that's the Miami Heat. They have maybe the best coach in the league in Eric Spoelstra. They have like just some solid veterans and Bam Adebayo and Andrew Wiggins, Norman Powell, Tyler Hero when he comes back. I just think there's so little upside on this team. And so, I could see them 6. Maybe you have them 6. I think that's a very reasonable thing to do. I just think there's no upside there, and so I have them in there at 8. I just think they're just that's a 38 win team if I've ever seen one.
I have Miami at 7.
Okay. Yeah, about the same.
So you got Tyler Hero looking like mid-November on a return there, so not too bad. Miami, like Memphis, we talked about this on one of the previous podcasts, a very unlucky team in terms of win differential between expected wins versus actual wins a season ago. Like, probably could have had a little bit better of a record. I think there are real things there. I like Bam Adebayo. He's a very impactful player. They're always one of the better teams on the defensive side of the ball, and we all know, like, the mark of consistency in the NBA is defense. Like, if you've got a good defense, like, it's much more sustainable than being a team that has an awesome offense. I feel like they're going to be right in this mix, and I sort of went back and forth with the idea of putting them at number 6, but there's a team I think I'm much lower on than a lot of other people in my number 6 spot, so I had Miami at number 7.
So mine, that's interesting. That's interesting. Maybe your number 6 team is not who I think it's going to be then. I thought my number 17 was going to be your 6. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. My number 17 was the Milwaukee Bucks. And they're an odd team because they have one of the 3 or 4 best players in the world. And I feel like the ceiling is just granite hard on that team because they got nothing else. I mean, Miles Turner's a quality starter, but the rest of that team is an expansion team. And is there a scenario where Giannis plays 70 games at an MVP level and they get a lot of guys who shoot the ball well? And they carve out a 46 win season, and in which case they would definitely be in the top 6. Yeah, I think that could happen. But Giannis could also just pull the plug. He could get injured and miss 20 games. He could ask for a trade, and that thing will sink like a stone if that happens.
Yeah, that's my fear. So
right.
I have Milwaukee at 5. And
oh, wow. Okay.
The reason I have Milwaukee at 5 is if you go look at the way they finished the season last year, and they were trying to be competitive, 9 games over 500 after the All-Star break, so finished really strong. I think Giannis is one of the 4 most impactful players in the game. That's not a hot take. You exit, Brook Lopez exits here. Dame's exits here. That might be addition by subtraction to some degree. And then you add Miles Turner. I think that they're still, with Giannis, going to be a competitive team. Doc Rivers isn't the type of coach that I think is going to be very interested in going the other direction. The danger is like Giannis wants to be in New York or something, or it gets
Right.
rocky for a little bit, and then that prediction just goes totally to the wayside. So yeah, that's probably my most risky. I think it's my most risky, position on any team I've got here all in the entire exercise. So I
So,
put
so
Walker.
yeah, sorry. I thought we were transitioning. So the number six thing is going to be interesting because you're going to have a team that you're lower on than most, it sounds like. I've got a team I'm higher on than most. And so let me do mine first since we've already talked about them a little bit. And that's
You've got
Indiana
Indiana, yeah.
at six. I'm probably going to look dumb for this because they could easily, when I talk about one of these teams is just going to bottom out and pull the plug, that could be Indiana. Like they could end up finishing 13th. But if they don't want to do that, I know they lost Halliburton. I know they said goodbye to Miles Turner. I do think Rick Carlisle is a top 2 or 3 coach in the league. I think that team was so deep last year that even when you take those 2 guys out, they're still going to have a very functional rotation and a coach, and they'll be able to play that style. And if they want to play that style and try to win in the regular season, I think they have a chance to still win 40, 42 games playing that way. Um, I, I think they can play. Their center rotation is not great, but I think they're going to play small a lot. I think Obi Toppin, small ball 5, is the way they're going to soak up a lot of minutes. I like Andrew Nimhard. That's a breakout kind of guy to take over on ball. TJ McConnell's hurt to start the season, but once he gets back, they still have good league guards in Nimhard and McConnell. I could look really dumb for this, and I do think there's a gap to me from 5 to 6. Like I think they're going to have probably a losing record as a 6, or a 500 record. But I don't know, man. And Carlisle, I trust.
My number 6 team is Atlanta.
Okay.
Um,
I have them at 5, so I'm also not quite as high on them as some people.
they've somehow become a little bit of the offseason darlings in the NBA. I think it's because people liked what they did in the draft. Um, but I can't get with this because I don't like you added Porzingis, who has an injury history, so like maybe your defense can be better than it was last season. But you also had a few players exit. Dyson Daniels is obviously great defensively, but I mean, what are people seeing here that I'm missing? Like they were 14th on offense and 19th on defense last year before you get to like the garbage time of the NBA. They are just a middle of the pack team. I feel like they're just getting a lot of the benefit of the doubt that the East is so bad that they're going to be better. I don't see it.
I do think the Hawks are well constructed. I think if you're going to have a team where your Trae Young is your engine, you need shooting around him, which, if Porzingis is playing, that's one of the great stretch fives in the game. And I think you need defense around him, and they got long defenders in Dyson Daniels, Zachary Ricochet, Porzingis as a rim protector. You add Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think the pieces fit pretty well, but it's still a team that's built around Trae Young and Kristaps Porzingis, and I think there's sort of a ceiling on that in terms of Porzingis is not. He's going to miss games, and even when he plays, he's not what he was 4 or 5 years ago. I think Atlanta's good, but I think they're just a step behind to me the other teams that have above them.
Do you think Jalen Johnson's going to make some big step? Like that's what you hear a lot when you hear, "Oh, I'm high on the Hawks this year."
The weird thing about that is he already did. He averaged like 19, 10, and 5 or whatever last year when he played. He's good. But
And they were 19th on defense, and they had Dyson Daniel. I mean, like I think,
yeah.
like I had trouble trying to get there with them. All right, so that was my number 6, and my number 5 was Milwaukee. Did I miss either of yours there?
No, so we have the same top 4 in some order.
You go ahead with your number 4.
My number 4 is a team that it's possible I'm a year early on this, but because I flirted with them, not necessarily higher in my regular season standings, but I think they could do better than this in the playoffs. I really like what's happening in Detroit. I think Jaden Ivey and Ashar Thompson are both major breakout candidates this season. I think if Giannis got traded to the West, if Giannis just called tomorrow and said, trade me, to San Antonio or whatever, got shipped west, I think Cade Cunningham might be the best player in the Eastern Conference after that happens. I think he's got a chance to really push, the Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson class of guy and to be that number 1 lead guard, number 1 perimeter guy in the conference this season. They're still young. It feels like they're one trade, one move away, but maybe that happens in season. For right now, I've got them 4th in the East, but I think with upside.
Yeah, I also have Detroit fourth in the East, and I like Detroit a lot too. I think everything that happened last season, the way that they sort of emerged as a playoff team, was all real. I'm going to talk a lot about expected wins, but they were right where they should have been last year. And I also kind of like what they did. Obviously, Beasley under investigation, like he's out, and he was an important piece alongside Cade and off the bench. But like you add Levert, who I think when healthy is a good addition that fits what they want to do. You add Duncan Robinson. I think it shores up the backcourt a little bit. I like what they did a lot, and I think Detroit's very real. I mean, they've got a chance to win 50 games, I think, this year. I mean, if things break right for them. So I like Detroit a lot. Okay, I think this is the top three here. I think Detroit maybe in their own tier alone right there, but
Yeah, I get them 2 or 3 games back. Sure.
the other three, I think all are expected to be good. And we'll see what order we go in. I think it could go anyway. I've got the Knicks third.
I
Which yeah.
that no, that's interesting. I have the Magic third, and I wouldn't surprise me if the Magic were higher than that. Obviously, you have them higher than that. I'll just do the Magic spill now. You do the Knicks. We can say where we have each. But Orlando, I think they could be better than this. I may be underselling them in the regular season because of the depth and the balance that they have. I actually have more questions about them as a playoff team. I do wonder about the quality of the lead guard play. I really like Desmond Bain and I really like Jalen Suggs, but I don't love either of them as a number one ball handler on a team. I love them both as a number two ball handler on a team. So I worry about that as far as Orlando. And with the Knicks, I mean, the Knicks have sort of proven they're good in playoff basketball, even though they haven't come through to the finals yet. Um, I worry about the depth with the Knicks. I think their starting lineup stuff, their top six is very proven, even with the coaching change. I don't worry about that, but I don't like the depth. Orlando has better depth, which could carry them in the regular season, but I still have the Knicks just because of my doubts about the lead ball handling in Orlando. I still have the Knicks ahead of the Magic.
Knicks third for me. No Tibbs. I think there's going to be a little less regular season wear and tear, a little less focus on the regular season, a little bit more
Yeah.
focus on the postseason. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they take a little bit of a step back in terms of wins over the course of the regular season. That was sort of my reasoning there. But also, I really like Orlando. Like
Yeah.
I think that they did a lot to fix some of their deficiencies last year. And I also wonder if Grizzlies fans may be playing some revisionist history because I think Orlando's in for a big season. Um, I think you raise a good point on the Suggs and Bain thing. But Suggs missed 47 games last year and they were still really good. They
Right.
finished second defensively. They were 24th offensively. The backcourt was kind of the weakness there. So you go out, you add Desmond Bain, but you also add Tyus Jones, who I think is a really good addition for their team. You talk about finding somebody who's solid on the ball. I think he's really solid on the ball. And you might say, oh well, you know, you added a little offensively, but you subtracted from that number two defense because KCP's now with the Grizzlies. Well, here's the thing. Orlando was number two in the league in defense before they got KCP last year. They're just really good on defense. And so I think they had a really good offseason. I think adding Tyus Jones and Desmond Bain was huge for them. They fill holes that they need. If they get more Suggs, which you would think that they will, considering they're hoping he's ready for the start of the season and he missed 47 games last year. I think Orlando's going to be really good. I think that Orlando could finish first in the East. I have them behind
I agree.
Cleveland, but yeah.
So there's one team in each conference who, after I published my preview last week, setting aside injury revision stuff, I just started to look at it and thought, I wonder if I'm underrating this team a little bit in the regular season. Orlando was the version of that in the East, and so I've got them third, but it would not surprise me if they finish second or even first in the regular season.
Yeah. So we both have Cleveland at number one. I don't have a lot of notes here. They still have a ton of talent. Obviously, they were very well coached last year from a regular season standpoint. So dominant, it's just pretty hard to pick against them to win the East.
Yeah, I don't. They've been a regular season wins machine that has struggled in the playoffs. they basically have sort of the same team with some minor tweaks. I don't see any reason why the first part of that, the regular season wins machine, should be much different this season, unless it starts to grow stale. But obviously, they didn't think that was going to happen, or they would have shaken it up a little bit more.
Let's move on to the West, but first, let's take a break for a message from our sponsor.
Want to make a big impact without getting lost in a big system? Join Youth Villages to be a force for families while becoming part of one. Help make positive changes on a national scale, one community at a time. It takes a family to transform lives. Start with yours. Apply now at youthvillages.org/careers.
Okay, Chris. I don't think we're going to have much debate about number 15 in the West. So can we just go ahead and throw Utah out of here?
Yeah,
Get 'em
Utah
outta here.
15, and we'll move on. Right.
See ya, Utah. And Lauri Markkanen may be gone. In fact, I think likely to be traded at some point this season. Number 14, I'll let you have the honors here, sir.
So I've changed a couple things in the West from when I wrote, and one of those is in the play-in range, and one of those is in this bottom range. And I have moved the Sacramento Kings down to 14. I was already feeling like I was overrating that team already, even though I had them winning like 35 or 36 games. And then the Keegan Murray injury happens; he's going to miss like a month. That's just another team that, like, Domantas Sabonis puts up numbers, but they're kind of empty numbers. He doesn't really play defense. And then the rest of the front court rotation is just bad. And I just think that team is not good. The team's going to be a bottom 10, maybe a bottom 5 defense. And I just think the perimeter stuff, there's talent there, but it's just stale, man. You add Dennis Schroeder to Zach LaVine to DeMar DeRozan. The whole organization has sort of a stench on it. So I've moved Sacramento down 2 spots since the last I wrote. I have them at 14.
I have Sacramento as a play-in team, so
Oh,
I'll hold
wow.
off on thoughts.
Love it.
I think Sacramento is, I'll just go ahead and say I've got them in the 10 spot.
I'll say this. I think the 10 spot is pretty wide open. So
It's
yeah,
pretty
you
wide
could be
open.
right about this. Yeah.
And they are the Chicago Bulls West, is what
Yeah.
they've basically become. They've got LaVine and DeRozan, and, they've got Sabonis, and, like, it's a little bit different, than Vujicic, but I think it's sort of the same idea. I mean, why not? Why not them as just like slightly below 500? Like, you can close your eyes and squint and picture that. Like, that was sort of my thinking there on Sacramento. They also have the top rest advantage of everybody in the NBA, so get a lot of games on good rest. So they got a good schedule.
And as we speak, they added Russell Westbrook today. So
Yeah,
you got that going for you.
I do have that going for me. My 14 team was the Pelicans. Look, the Pelicans, if you look up and down the roster, you might think, like, wow, they actually have some real talent. Like, they've got a chance to be pretty good if everybody stays healthy. You can't trust that everybody's going to stay healthy on that team. And the one thing that I think is being a little overrated right now is, like, well, what happens if they get a lot of Zion? Well, Zion played 30 games last year, and he was good in those 30 games. Do you know the Pelicans' record in the 30 games that Zion played?
I'm gonna go 9-21.
They were 10-20.
There you
10-20. So not very good. And I think they still won't be very good, even if he does play. I could end up eating that one, but I can't get it. I can't get with it on the Pelicans. I think even if they are healthy, they're still in this bottom tier, and I don't trust that they will stay healthy. So I'm going to put them as low as I can here.
I got New Orleans at 13. I mean, the best case scenario there is that Zion, Herb Jones, and Trey Murphy all stay healthy, and that's a pretty good trio of players. None of them play point guard or center unless you're playing small. And I just think the point guard, the lead guard, and the center rotations in New Orleans are just recipes for losing. You're talking about Yves Missy and a cooked Kevon Looney at center, a rookie Derek Queen. Talking about a rookie Jeremiah Fears, who I just think who just will not be ready at all. Jordan Poole, who's a gunner, who does not abet winning, as we saw in Washington. I think even the best case scenario with that team is an under 500 scenario, and that's a best case. So I have them at 13.
Okay. Continue. You go ahead.
Have we done your 13?
Oh, I've got Portland at 13 here.
Okay.
I think Portland obviously I'm a expected wins guy, as you can tell. Number one in win differential last season from a positive standpoint. So 4.6 more wins than they were expected to get. I like Klingon and I like some of the pieces that they have, and maybe Shaden Sharp and Denny Avdia are going to make big jumps and I'll look dumb. But I don't think I'm in on Chauncey Billups, and I wonder if he's going to be the first coach fired this season. I think there's a good chance at that. And so I put Portland at 13.
So I've got Portland at 10 in that playoff spot, final play-in spot. I don't feel good about it, but I do think they have a chance to be a top 10 defense. I believe in a Klingon, Kamara, as defensive anchors, Drew Holiday when he plays. I like Denny Avdi a lot. The backcourt is a real issue there. And so I have them at 10, kind of by default, probably because there's a team we haven't talked about yet that I'm probably a little too low on. But I think that could be like a number 8 offense and number 25. I'm sorry, number 8 defense and number 25 offense. And so I don't know where that you come out with that. And so I have them at 10, much higher than you, but I don't feel super good about it.
Okay, I'm glad we're getting at least some variance here between the two picks here in the West. On to number 12. Who do you got at 12?
The same team as you, I bet, the Phoenix Suns.
I do have the Phoenix Suns at 12.
Yeah, there we go.
Dylan Brooks, Ryan Dunn, they have some wing talent. Is Jalen Green going to be pretty good this year? I don't know about their center situation because Malawak, the rookie, I don't know if he's ready. He seems like a little bit more of a project, but they've got a new coach in Jordan Ott who's like all in on offensive basketball. I think they certainly have enough talent to end up as a play-in team. I wouldn't put them much higher than like that 10 spot, but I'm not. I don't think Phoenix is in for the horribly miserable season that the Grizzlies are probably hoping that they're going to have. There's just too much on that roster.
My thing with the Suns is they got 75 games from Devin Booker last year. They got 61 games from Durant, who was great when he played. And they got 81 games from Tyus Jones, real point guard. And they still only had a league average offense with all of those games from those three guys. They only won 36 with that. I think Dylan Brooks, is going to help their defense, but not as much as I think their offense may sort of fall off. The vibes are obviously bad on that team. I have them about what they were last year, maybe slightly worse.
And because of the trade, they have no continuity too. So like that, it could be rough for a couple months for Phoenix. I think that's sort of the hope. If you're Memphis, I have just outside of the play-in at number 11. Dallas. I have the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh, wow. The Spurs. Listen to this. Okay, go ahead.
Last season with Wemby, 20th on offense, 22nd on defense before you get to the crappy March basketball that I just decided to throw out. Are they that much better, even though they're getting like this hype in the offseason? Like they're expecting, I think their win total was like up almost 10 wins or something crazy if you're into like the betting space. So they're obviously people feel good about the Spurs. I'm not so certain that they're much better, and I don't really like what they have outside. I like Castle's fine, but I don't love what they have outside of Wemby. So I think if Wemby is totally awesome and like maybe he's like a dark horse MVP candidate, this will look really stupid. But I just don't see how they're that much better. And I don't know if he's going to make some sort of massive leap from year to year. And Mitch Johnson's still the coach too. That's another thing. I think they had an opportunity to maybe go out and hire somebody that would feel a little bit more, for lack of a better term, like serious, but they didn't do it. So I'm lower on the Spurs than most. You might have them high. You might be very high on the Spurs.
Well, so should I talk about the Spurs or should I go to my number 10?
Go to your number 10.
So my number 10's the Dallas Mavericks, who I probably should have at least one spot higher above Portland. I just don't. I have the same issue with Dallas as I do with Portland, just in a different way. With Portland, I think the guards are too young and not good enough, and with Dallas, I think the guards are too old and not good enough. Now, if you tell me Kyrie Irving comes back in January, it's a different story, and I have them too low. But as it is right now, I think D'Angelo Russell and Klay Thompson is not the backcourt of a team that's going to play postseason basketball in 2026. I think Anthony Davis, who's averaged like 55 games, I think, for the past 5 or 6 seasons, is apparently in camp out of shape. I think it's not going to have a massive year for them. And I think Cooper Flag is going to be awesome ultimately. But I think they're going to put way too much weight offensively on an 18-year-old rookie who, even in the best case scenario, is not thought of to be a superstar offensive engine. He's thought of to be a superstar, like, all-around player, not a LeBron James, like, I'm going to have an enormous usage to dominate the ball and, be 30 points, 10 assists, whatever. Even in his prime, I don't think that's the way he's projected. He's 18 years old. So Dallas could have a very, very good defense. And honestly, the West is squishy enough that they probably are a good bet to get into the play-in. But I just don't like the backcourt there unless Kyrie's coming back.
So who was your 11 again? Who'd you have in the 11 spot?
Oh, I'm sorry, 11. Dallas was my 11.
Oh, you had Dallas at 11. Okay.
Yeah, just outside the play-in. I had Portland at 10, Dallas at 11.
Okay. I have Dallas at 10 for me.
Right. That's probably right.
Kyrie, who knows if he's coming back? I would probably guess not. This season, based on his history with long-term injuries, Dallas is just a real wild card because how many games are you going to get out of Anthony Davis? Who's going to play? Is Flag just going to be totally awesome?
So where'd you have Dallas?
At 10. So
you had Sacramento at 9.
Oh, excuse me. I had Dallas at 9 and Sacramento.
Okay.
Excuse me. Yes. All right. Sorry. I listed out all of these teams according to win projections, and then I put my own list at the top. Dallas actually and Sacramento right there back to back, so that I confused myself on that one. Okay. So who is you have Portland at 10. Who's your number 9?
So I kind of want to talk about my 7, 8, 9 together a little bit when I do it. So let's go through what your 7, 8, 9 is, and then we'll break it down.
Dallas at 9, Lakers at 8, and Memphis at 7.
Okay. So when I wrote this, I had Lakers 7, Grizzlies 8, Spurs 9. And as I've thought about it over the last few days, I have kept the Grizzlies at 8, but I have flopped the Spurs and the Lakers. I really wanted to be down on the Lakers, but I was scared of Luka Doncic. I'm not scared of the rest of that team because I think the rest of that team stinks. But now LeBron has 40-year-old LeBron, 41-year-old LeBron. I can't keep up with how old this dude is. He's got back problems. I relate. He didn't play defense last year when he didn't have back problems. And that was a year older with back problems. I just think that team's not going to play defense. And I think Luka's
telling me you don't trust Marcus Smart?
I don't. I don't trust DeAndre Ayton. I don't trust Alton Reeves on defense. I don't trust Rui Hachimura. I mean, Luka is awesome. And if Luka plays 70-plus games healthy, he could carry that team to 50 wins. But he's been awesome before and carried a team to 40, 44 or whatever. And I think that some of those were better teams. I don't like that. I just don't like the makeup of that Lakers team. I don't think they're going to play defense. I think LeBron is going to tail off pretty hard this season ultimately. And so I pushed the Lakers down from 6 to 9. And I moved the Spurs up. And I agree with a lot of what you said about the Spurs. I think that team is not quite ready yet. I don't know if I believe in the coach. The backcourt mix, I'm just not sure about. You're talking about a rookie and a second-year player, and then a guy in De'Aaron Fox who hasn't only really contributed to winning once in his career. And
is already injured.
And is already injured. But here's the thing, man. I did a little bit of this on the radio today. Guys who are this huge, like Wemby, and I hope this is not the case with him, but guys who are this huge end up having injury problems in their career. But it usually comes later. It's year 3. Bill Walton had injury problems. He also carried a team in Portland to an NBA title. Tim Duncan, I think, won a title by the time he was 22, 23. Shaq was in the finals around the time he was 22, 23. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I think, had won a title by the time he was 22, 23. Generational bigs. at some point very early in their careers, things click and they just carry teams. And I worry to the degree, I worry for myself because I have them ninth. And when I wrote, I worry at Wemby is going to be Godzilla. He's going to rise out of the Pacific Ocean. He's gonna treat the rest of the West like Tokyo, and it's just going to happen. And because I'm not saying it's going to happen, but because there's a chance it happens, I went ahead and moved them up. Still, it's only seventh, but I jumped them up 2 spots. I still have the Grizzlies at 8, which we can talk about.
Before we get to Memphis, just also on the Lakers, I agree with almost everything you said. I have them below Memphis. I have the Lakers below Memphis for a lot of the same reasons.
We both have the Lakers below Memphis. High five. Zoom high five. Boom.
Zoom high five. They were one of the overperformers last season, up 4 wins from expected. LeBron's already hurt.
And the Grizzlies were one of the underperformers by the same measure.
The Grizzlies were the underperformer by the same measure. And so I think that there is some luck that exists there, and you would expect it meets somewhere in the middle. My notes say defensive thoughts: Davis and Dorian Finney-Smith gone. Do you trust Smart? No. And will they care about the regular season? That's the last part about it too.
Yeah,
it's like I if they're in the play-in mix, at least they have their pick. Like at least they have a pick, so you would expect if it goes bad, maybe they just tail off and say, screw it, we're going to play for the future and have this pick. I don't know. I don't think they can be that bad with Luka as long as he's healthy, but not very high on them. All right, Memphis. So we both got Memphis right in the same range. We've got Memphis at 7. Where did you have Memphis? 8?
8, yeah.
Okay. If they're healthy, Memphis has an opportunity to be one of the teams that is, like, in my opinion, one of the real surprises because of where they're being put now. There is no history that suggests that they're going to be healthy, and they're already not. So it's a prove it to me thing at this point.
That's the key. They're already not. And to me, to saying that has nothing to do with John Morant or Jaren Jackson Jr. I think those injuries have been overstated and overrated, which we've talked about. Zach Edey's going to miss at least a month. And when he comes back, there's no guarantee he's going to pick up where he left off. Or, I just, there's so much uncertainty with the Zach Edey, Brandon Clark thing. And that's the first and second options at sort of that spot. And then you add to that the durability question with Morant, who just has to prove otherwise at this point. And then you have a first-time head coach. And so to me, those 3 elements of uncertainty: the front court injury stuff, the Morant durability, the first-year head coach. If they get good returns on all 3 of those fronts, I think they're going to be really good. The other thing here is that, and we'll get to the rest of the teams, I think those 6 teams that we both have, we have the same top 6, maybe in different order. Like, those teams are good,
No, they are good. And I think we both would be really happy to be wrong about that and the Grizzlies not be a play-in team. But again, it's just I think a lot of the fans feel this way too. It's like it's a show me thing, right? At this point, we can't just keep taking health for granted, right? Like and just saying, well, they'll be better because they're going to get more Ja or they're going to get more Jaren or whatever. Like, they got to prove that they're going to be on the court that long. If they play 60 games, that's probably at least 35 wins, 36 wins. Like if you get 60 games of those guys, and then it doesn't take much to be a team that's over 500 in a really crowded West and like in the mix to be a playoff team. But like, man, it's difficult to have confidence that team is going to stay healthy. So that's where I have them. Okay. I think I'm going to be lower on one of these teams than you and higher on one of these teams, but I imagine we're probably going to have a similar list. Maybe not. Who's your number 6?
My number 6 is the Golden State Warriors.
Same.
So I'm surprised at how high a lot of people are on the Warriors, especially a lot of and frankly, a lot of teams, people who are highest are either A, they're connected to Golden State in some way, or B, they do their own statistical projections, like John Hollinger and Kevin Pelton. And I get that the numbers spit out well in Golden State. They had a stupid good record after trading for Jimmy Butler last year.
23-7.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. But I just don't. A, I think that overstates the case. B, I think this whole season won't be played as like a playoff race. So I don't think Jimmy Butler in October, November, December is the same Jimmy Butler you get in a playoff race. and I think that's true of Draymond Green and Steph Curry as well. This team is old, like old. Like they added Al Horford, and now their like four best players are age all like older than 35 or
Yeah.
whatever. So I think they're going to miss a lot of games. Um, the Kaminga thing is still weird. I thought I was going to be lower on them, but I actually like the Al Horford addition, even though he's 40. I've always loved that guy, and I think he's a great fit. And I just think, they just know how to play basketball, and I think they'll be good. But I also think there is downside for them. Like if those guys miss more games than people are thinking they will, which is very possible given their age, I think there's more. If you're looking for a team that like is going to fall apart in that top six, they're a better candidate than most because of the age.
Yeah, if they get to the postseason with those four guys healthy, the older guys healthy or just available, I'll be buying Warrior stock at that point. It's harder to do so for the regular season. As you mentioned, 23-7 with Jimmy Butler last year. Um, they were 17th on offense last year too. I think a full season of Jimmy Butler improves that. They were also really terrible in the mid range. That's what Jimmy Butler's really good at. I think they will be a good team. I think on a night to night basis, you have no idea who's going to be playing for the Warriors with so many guys up there in age. So I'm with you. I have the Warriors at sixth as well. This is where I think we're going to divide, Chris. At number five, I have the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah, and you're closer to consensus than I am. I was heartened to see because I published before he did. Hollinger had the Clippers second in the West, as I do have them second in the West. So what do you think about the Clippers?
There's just some uncertainty there. Obviously, they've had a whole lot of offseason drama. I think that they were pretty solid and like they're running it back to some degree. So, and last year was no fluke. I just don't feel as good about the Clippers as I do about the four teams that I have in front of them, and that's honestly what it came down to. I think the
Yeah.
Clippers will be very good. I think Houston has more to work with. They have some holes. I I'll just go ahead and spoil it. I've got Houston at number four. But ultimately, I was trying to go decide between those two in the end, and I think just from a talent perspective and just what they have to work with from a roster standpoint, I like what Houston has more, even though I worry about the point guard situation there. So it just came down to not liking the Clippers as much as I liked the four teams that I could put in front of them.
Yeah, I think that again, that's consensus. I think I'm outside of consensus on this one. I do have those teams two through five. Those four teams pretty tightly bunched. I have Rockets five. So we'll talk about the other teams in the middle in a second. But I have the Clippers second, the Rockets fifth. I obviously there's a lot of messiness around the Clippers, and that potentially presents some risk. I don't think there are going to be any penalties that are going to impact their team this season. Like I don't think they're going to void Kawhi Leonard's contract or anything like that. It could be that there's a level of distraction that impacts them, but I decided to set all that aside and just look at the team on the floor. And they were really good last year with Kawhi playing half a season. So I don't think they're dependent on Kawhi Leonard being there every night. I believe in depth and defense in the regular season. I think they have great depth and great defense. To me, they just have so much. I love Tyronn Lue, a coach, but they can just go so many different ways now. They can spend 48 minutes. They can go 48 minutes of elite rim protection at center now with Brook Lopez backing up Zubac. They finally have an athletic alley oop, dynamic power forward in John Collins. They have multiple veterans who can handle the ball with Bradley Beal and Chris Paul behind James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. They have defensive specialists in Derek Jones and Chris Dunn. I just think they have so many tools that even though they're on the older side and some of those guys are going to miss some games, I sort of believe in Tyronn Lue having all those tools to navigate 82 games. As far as the Rockets, I didn't like the roster balance before the Fred VanVleet injury, and then it happened. And I look at that team, and I just don't understand why they didn't add guards to that team. It was funny. If you look at one of the preseason games, maybe there was more than one, but the one box score I looked at, they started a lineup of, and they won the game. They gave up 128 points, but they won the game. They started a lineup of Alperen Şengün, our old pal Steven Adams as double bigs. On the wings, they started Kevin Durant and Jabari Smith. And then at lead guard, they started Amin Thompson. And I don't know, man. Maybe you play a lot of lineups like that, and you're huge, and like Kevin Durant and Şengün just make shots in half court basketball and you win. But I really wonder about the guard play, navigating, and maybe they make a trade, but I just don't think their guard play is good enough.
I mean, what are you doing with that against like OKC that has quick guards on the perimeter that are just going to
I
beat those dudes up the floor? I
right.
I think there's some and I noted their bench too. So you got Aaron Holiday, Dorian Finney-Smith, Tari Eason, Clint Capella, Steven Adams. There's a lot of repetition there, first of
Yeah.
all, and second of all, they don't fit it perfectly. And like, is Reed Shepherd ready to play point guard? Here's the thing about Houston. Houston may make a trade around the deadline that fixes all these problems, and then all of a sudden they're like a juggernaut
The
again.
second best team. Yeah. No, that could happen.
Yeah. Um, and so maybe, that happens earlier in the season and that bumps them up. But if you're taking Houston for what they are right now, I can't put them ahead of the other three. Certainly not OKC. Especially when you think about the individual matchup between the two teams.
So,
Um,
so, so you had Houston at 4, right?
yes.
Okay. My four, and we'll find out who your 2 and 3 are. My 2 is the Clippers. My 4 is Minnesota. And I was sort of prepared to be down on Minnesota, but then the more I looked at it, like I got questions about them, but I got bigger questions about Houston all of a sudden. Like if the Van Vliet injury hadn't happened, I would definitely have Houston above Minnesota. I worry about the lead guard problem in Minnesota because Mike Conley, he looked like he was kind of close to done last year. I hate to say that. I mean, I feel bad. And now this is year 20 for Mike Conley. I don't believe in Rob Dillingham at all. They do have Dante DiVincenzo, who people forget he was terrible the first like month or two last season. I think he'll be better across the board this year. But I think the guard stuff is pretty sketchy. I think the depth is pretty sketchy, which in the regular season, like this is a team that's made the conference finals 2 years in a row, but they haven't been like a top 2 team in the regular season 2 years in a row. So I think the depth in the league guard play, I think could hurt them in the regular season. But I still think they're going to be good defensively with the bigs they have, and I think Anthony Edwards is like a top 5 or 6 player in the league, and I think it's possible he's another step to take. But I have Minnesota fourth.
Um, I have Minnesota third.
Yeah,
I like Minnesota a lot, as you said, more as I sort of dug deeper. Like Memphis, going to go back to the expected wins thing. If you cut it off at March when basketball gets weird, it was actually Minnesota considered basically the most unlucky. They projected almost 5 more wins for Minnesota over that stretch of the season, all the way up until March. They were a team that won 49 games last year. Like that's a mid 50s win team, with some better luck this season. And they were top 10 on offense, top 10 on defense. They're essentially running it back. Like, I think that's right where I think they're 52, 53 wins. And I think that's good enough in the West to get you to the number 3 spot this year. So, um, I like Minnesota a lot. And I don't think there's much to add because they didn't add a lot. It's
yeah.
kind of the same team.
So
Um,
that means you have Denver second. I have Denver third.
yes, I had Denver at number 2. Uh, get Bruce Brown back, Cam Johnson. I think the Jonas Valanciunas addition is a really good addition for Denver because they would get killed in the non-Jokic minutes, and now you have a bully that you can get in there and play in the minutes when Jokic is off the court, who we know can rebound. Denver's just solid up and down, and Jokic is the best player in the world. So I like Denver at number 2. I wonder on the coaching thing. They were one of the teams that obviously didn't go out and do anything and just hired the interim. Um, but vibes seem to be pretty good around Denver right now.
My only thing with Denver, my only hesitation, and it's not much of a hesitation. Again, I have them third in a strong conference. My only hesitation with Denver is sort of like Minnesota. They've been a little bit better as a playoff team than a regular season team. I don't think, while everyone loves their additions, and I like their additions, they were a bottom 10 defense last year, and I don't think Jonas Valanciunas and Tim Hardaway Jr. help your defense, like at all. And so I think the defense will still be sketchy in the regular season. And, you wonder about missed games. There's injury history there with Aaron Gordon and Cam Johnson and Jamal Murray and some of those guys. I think there's enough there that, like, I could see in the regular season them sort of being a little bit worse than people think. Then you get in the playoff basketball, and Jokic, if he's healthy, is playing 40 minutes a game, and I think they're the second best team in terms of likelihood to get to the NBA Finals, I would have them second in the West, but it's a regular season team. I'm just a little bit lower on them than that. And we both have Oklahoma at number one. I don't think we need to talk about that too much.
OKC, more or less than 62 wins?
Over. Over. If I were a betting man, that's one I would bet.
TeamRankings.com has them projected at 61.8. I mean, top team in the West, everybody back, juggernaut, NBA champions. I don't think there's much more to say about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, let's do some awards picks and get out of here. We knew this was going
Okay.
to be a longer pod. We will start with MVP. And if, don't just name your MVP, Chris. Just give us some other names
Oh,
too
I
that you
got.
think could be in the mix.
I wrote down a top five for every one of these categories, so
Okay,
I'm prepared.
here we
So
go.
where are you going to me for MVP?
Yeah, I'm going to you for MVP.
So it's a little bit tough because I think some of the usually you have to be like a top three or four player in the league, and usually you need to be in like a top three team on your conference. And the problem is, if I believe in my predictions for teams, I got Milwaukee as a play-in team with Giannis. I got the Lakers with Luka as a play-in team. I can't pick those dudes to win an MVP if I think their team's going to be in the play-in. So my top five, so I'm going to set Giannis and Luka aside because of where I think their team's going to be. My top five is I got five Cade Cunningham. I guess I got some people crashing the conversation. I got five Cade Cunningham. I got four Wimby, even though I have them as a play-in. I got three last year's winner, SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I got number two making a run, Anthony Edwards, who was, I believe, your pick a year ago. And I got Jokic doing it again because I think he's the best player in the world. I think his team will be in a top three seed, and it'll be when you're trying to find the Venn diagram overlap between the truly greatest player and the team being good. I think it's going to be him.
I didn't list these out in order, but I picked and then wrote down some other names of intrigue. I also have Jokic. Um, it's a little chalky here, but like, let's be real. The guy's going to put up insane numbers, and that's usually enough to draw the attention of the voters. So hard to pick against Jokic. I should probably stop doing that. So I went with Jokic, SGA, Giannis, Luka. Everybody knows those guys. The wild card here's wild cards. I had Wemby question mark, Anthony Edwards question mark, and then if you want to get real crazy, if their
Paolo
teams are
Banchero.
totally awesome, and Şengün. I think
Oh,
if the Rockets go real, I think he's a numbers guy too. If the Rockets are like the best team in the league, somehow better than the Thunder, don't see it happening. I think if you're looking for a really dark horse, that might be the direction.
see, I thought you were going to say Paolo Banchero because if you
I
think
have
the
Paulo
matchup,
Paulo down too. Paulo
yeah,
and Şengün.
if you think that team has a chance to finish first in the East, I think he's going to get it. That would mean he's going to get in the conversation.
Defensive Player of the Year, Wemby.
Yeah, I got Wemby.
Yeah.
My sort of runners up guys I mentioned were Zubats, whose name I always mispronounce for the Clippers, Tumani Kamara, Portland, our own Jaren Jackson Jr., and then last year's winner Evan Mobley. Amin Thompson should be there, but I just think there's going to be such an offensive burden on him. I think that might impact his defense a little bit.
I have Wemby too. Any interest in Chet here?
No, I mean that could definitely happen with the way Oklahoma City is. I just yeah, I mean I got no problem with it. I think Chet is probably a pretty good bet to be a top three guy in the finish. Maybe I was just showing my anti OKC bias there.
Yeah, I think Chet's got a chance. We'll see what Dallas is. Anthony Davis, always in consideration. And then the guys you mentioned, all also on my list. Um, Coach of the Year. You go first.
Well, if the Pacers crack the top six in the East, like I predicted, I think Rick Carlisle is going to be a pretty good pick for Coach of the Year. But that depends on the team success, right? So I've got him first, and then the other guys I threw out there were Tyronn Lue. If the Clippers finish second in the West, I mean that would be work with him. I think Mike Brown. I think with the Knicks, I think the Knicks will not miss a beat with the coaching change. I think Orlando because I think they are a sleeper to maybe get higher, third or higher in the East. I've got Jamal Mosley there, and then if Detroit, another team, I like to sort of it's a potential to pop our old buddy JB Bickerstaff. Those are some of the names I got. But Carlisle's my pick.
Yeah, I'm buying the Magic, so I took Jamal Mosley as Coach of the Year pick here. Some names I noted, just depending on the direction that the season goes. You know, if Atlanta turns out to be good, like some people think, Quinn Snyder, obviously, potential. Adelman or Finch, if one of those two teams is able to jump the Thunder or Udoka, any of those three, if they finish top of the conference, I think they have a good shot at it. But I think Orlando's going to be really good, so I'll take Mosley on Coach of the Year. Rookie of the Year, I think we're also probably going to be in agreement. No,
Yeah, I mean the undercard's what's interesting there, but Flag, it's hard not to pick Cooper Flag.
yeah, Cooper Flag. The other players I noted, VJ Edgecombe, Philly. Who knows what they are? I don't, and if they're healthy, I don't know what kind of role he's really going to play. So don't really love him, although he's probably in that mix. Trey Johnson, just a terrible team that's going to have a terrible record. I feel like for Flag not to win it and a guy like Trey Johnson to win it, the Mavericks really have to fall off or Flag has to get hurt. Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey. I don't know. I'm not really
Yeah,
buying on any of them except for Flag, to be honest.
I got Edgecombe and Bailey as my runners up. If you're trying to predict, like, the three finalists, I've got Flag, Edgecombe, Bailey in that order. Trey Johnson, I've got on my list. And my deep sleeper, again, not to win Rookie of the Year, but like if you're looking at like an all rookie first team kind of thing, my deep sleeper is the second Utah Jazz rookie, Walter Clayton Jr., who I think is going to end up being the starting point guard for the Utah Jazz this season.
Sixth man of the year. I've got somebody near and dear to the heart of your folks in Minnesota, Naz Reid.
Yeah, I'm bored with Naz Reid. I'm gonna if Mike Brown is really gonna start the double bigs in New York and start Towns and Mitchell Robinson and push Josh Hart to the bench, if that holds, then I like Josh Hart as sixth man of the year.
Yeah, I think Josh Hart is somebody I should have considered. Did not have him on the list. Other ones, Anthony Simons, Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter, Karis LeVert. Maybe Karis LeVert has a good season for Detroit. I mean, we're both high on the
Yeah,
Pistons. Tyus Jones, like if Tyus Jones is the point
yeah,
guard solution for the Magic, maybe.
yeah.
You know, I I think there's a lot of different directions six man of the year could go. Most
I think someone from Oklahoma City, if they can emerge from the crowd, it could be Caruso, it could be Cason Wallace.
Yeah,
Another guy I like as a sleeper here, and I've already mentioned him, but I'll just reiterate. I think Obi Toppin could be a six man who closes games for the Pacers when they play small ball.
most improved player. I think Denny Avdia is going to be a popular pick, and you like him. That's probably who you picked.
It's not, but that is a good one. It's so hard. There's so many guys, but that is not one of the five I jotted down. I have five, and I have a super deep sleeper I'll mention.
I took a Amen Thompson.
Yeah, I've got Amen Thompson at the top of my list. I think if you're looking at what player in the NBA is most likely to go from having never made an All-Star team to making an All NBA team, I think that guy's Amen Thompson, who I think could be at the end of the season you could look up as he's just a top 15 player in the league, period, and who's never made an All-Star team before. So that's my guy. I have his brother as one of my guys, Asar Thompson. I've got his teammate Jaden Ivey, the two breakout candidates for Detroit. Brandon Miller, we've already mentioned, I think is a guy. If you look at a guy who you look up at something he's averaging 26 points a game, I think it could be him. Andrew Nemhard, I mentioned.
I
For
was going to say
Indiana.
you can't go Pacers love and not mention Andrew Nemhard here.
Those are my five. But here's my super deep sleeper. This guy's not going to win most improved, but you're looking for a guy to come out of absolutely nowhere. I think it's quite possible that this season, the second leading scorer on the Milwaukee Bucks will be Ryan Rollins.
Ryan
Who,
Rollins. Okay.
who averaged 6 points a game last season. I think that could be 14 this year.
I mean, Avdia is going to get a lot of hype. How about his teammate Shaden Sharp? I mean, he's still
No,
young and
no,
super
that,
athletic. Like I could see that. And then Buzelis
yep.
obviously plays on a team that's average, but like could break. He could be a breakout guy.
I
Those are
thought
the
about
only two names I
Buzelis,
didn't
but
have.
I sort of have a bias against the second year player. So that's the only
Yeah.
reason I don't have Buzelis here.
All right, let's pick some playoff games. We're going to do Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals, and then we will pick an NBA champion and we will get out of here. Do you want to go first or me? You go first.
I'll go first. So the problem with trying to pick a finals is it depends on sort of how the standings shake out. because it's possible the two best teams will play each other in the second round.
Right.
But if I go by my own predictions in terms of how the grid would shake out in the East, because in the East I would have the Knicks and Magic playing in the second round. And so I'm going to say the upset special to get to the Eastern Conference Finals is going to be the Detroit Pistons as the 4th seed, and then they will lose to the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I have Knicks over Pistons. In the West, my predictions actually do shake out for me, where I have the Nuggets on the opposite side of the bracket. So I'm going to say Thunder over Nuggets in the West.
I noted that based on my predictions that some of my conference finals matchups, one of them is not possible, but I'm picking it anyway because I think that these are the two teams most likely to perform well in the playoffs. In the East, the Magic, who I'm very high on, and the Knicks. I think the Knicks have a lot of playoff experience. I think Jalen Brunson is a proven playoff commodity. They're going to be a little bit more rested, a little bit more prepared for the postseason now that Tibbs isn't there. So I have the Knicks over the Magic out of the East. And in the West, I have the Wolves versus the Thunder. The Thunder are such a machine, and you just can't pick against them. So I've got the Knicks and the Thunder in the finals.
We have the same finals. You picking the Knicks to win it?
No, I'm picking the Thunder.
I'm also picking the Thunder. I hate to do it.
All
right.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
The official finals pick of the podcast is Thunder over Knicks. There we go.
Thunder.
That's the first time I think we've ever had the same finals pick.
For sure. I remember I picked the Warriors out of nowhere a couple years ago. This year I went full boring. So there we go. Although I would love, we were talking about it during the playoffs last year. I kind of wanted the contrast of Bibles versus bodegas in OKC and New York City. New York, by the way, Madison Square Garden, my favorite place to go on a road trip for the Grizzlies. OKC, wonderful place, treat me great. Not my favorite road trip. I love the contrast. Give me some good contrast in the NBA Finals. I would be totally here for that. And I'd be here for the Magic because I think the Magic would be a great story. All right. Well, that's going to do it. There is the season predictions podcast from me and Chris. We're going to be back early next week previewing the Grizzlies season. We'll go through the Grizzlies roster. We'll break down all of the preseason games that they will all have been played by that point. And we will get you set up for opening night, which is a week from today, which is crazy to think about. A week from today. Grizzlies opening night down at FedEx Forum. Thanks for listening. Listen to all our other Daily Memphian podcasts. Go read Chris and I's stuff over at the Daily Memphian. But for Drew and for Chris, we're out of here.